Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for inviting me.
I think it's a good opportunity for FinTech Germany to get to know you a little bit. I think we all read the news last year when you or your company bought Penta. But let's start somewhere else. Do you still smoke?
No, actually the truth is I've never smoked.
You've never smoked. The reason why I'm asking this is your first startup was a smoking, or you produced electric cigarettes, like a thing to calculate how much you smoked, right?
Yeah, so with my co-founder Steve, this is our second company, and the first company was indeed called Smoke.io. That was a smart electronic cigarette that was helping smokers quit smoking and move to vaping and then cut down on nicotine and finally stop everything. And the fun fact is I've never been a smoker. My co-founder Steve was a heavy smoker, and he quit smoking thanks to vaping. So that was more his insights on how tough it was to quit smoking. And on my side, I had lots of people around me that were struggling to quit smoking, but luckily, I've never been a smoker myself.
So now they all vape?
Some of them have actually stopped everything, and I must say some other, including my wife, are still smoking.
Okay,
So
that wasn't too long ago. I mean, that was like 10 years ago when you did that. And now you're running, well, arguably the biggest business banking startup in Europe. How did you get from that startup to the fintech industry?
Well, quite naturally, if I may say. So that first company, Smoke.io, was started exactly 10 years ago, so 2013. We sold the company in 2016. And then we sat down with Steve, my co-founder, saying, okay, what should we do now? We're happy working with one another. And so we said, let's do something else together. Probably we high-fived when we said that. And then we said, okay, but what should we do? And we said, okay, let's work on a pain that we had ourselves as entrepreneur. It was really tough. I mean, building, growing, business is pretty tough. You have lots of things to do, and we struggled quite a bit with everything around banking, bookkeeping, accounting, and so on. And so we said, okay, let's try and solve this pain for SMEs in Europe. And so that's how Qonto got started 6-7 years ago now. So started in France and now active in Germany, Italy, and Spain as well, and serving today 350,000 SMEs, and really built and are still building the service we would have loved to have ourselves in the first place when we built our first company.
Let's go back. You said there were some pain points that you had, but I mean, when you founded your company, the first company, you could already do banking, you could already do accounting, and you can already do all these things. So what precisely were the pain points that you were trying to solve there?
Yeah, maybe just give you 3 very concrete examples. So that was only 7 years ago, but still some stuff were pretty crazy. So just very concretely, when you had online banking in France, but that's, I think, quite similar in other markets and probably in Germany as well. Your online banking history was limited to 60 days, and even sometimes to 30 days. So if you wanted to look for a transaction online, you had to request a PDF to the traditional bank. And so we thought it was really crazy. And so when we designed Qonto, we just took the obvious interface that we had, which was Gmail, and we said, okay, let's do a transaction history that is similar to Gmail. So on Qonto, you have unlimited transaction history. You can search, you can filter with keywords and amounts, dates, and so on. You can attach receipts to transactions exactly the same way you can attach pictures or documents to emails. And so those kind of things that are very obvious in a, let's say, non-banking world were definitely not obvious in the banking world, and especially for SMEs, because a few things that I've been describing can be a bit obvious for consumers and for B2C banking, but for B2B banking, it was even worse than B2C. So that's one example. Second example is, or second point is customer support. Like getting a hold of your bank relationship manager was a nightmare, and sometimes still is a nightmare today with traditional banks. It could take hours, days, and even sometimes weeks to get an answer from your bank. And last pain point or last example was pricing. When you wanted to understand, something on your bank statement like minus 32.22 euros, you were asking, so what is this about? and your bank relationship manager will tell you, yeah, everything is in the PDF here, and they would send you a PDF like 50 pages, lots of footnotes, lots of details, and you never could understand exactly what you were paying for. And so these three very precise pain points are exactly examples of what we've been solving with Qonto. So great product, amazing customer support 7 days a week, and fair and transparent pricing.
So you started that on this premise of trying to solve those 3 pain points. Your product is a few years old now, and you've continuously developed it. What is the product like today? I mean, have you built anything on top of those 3 pain points that you're solving? Where are you going with this?
So the ingredients, let's say, of great product, amazing customer support, and transparent pricing are still there. But of course, in each we've been evolving. So just to give you an example, customer support, we started at the beginning with 5-day a week customer support. So from Monday to Friday, I forgot the hours, but like 9 in the morning till 7 in the evening. And as we grew, as we scaled the number of clients, and we had also like more volume to make it viable from a financial point of view. We also increased business hours for customer support to Saturday, then to Sunday. And so, for instance, in Germany, we're doing 7-day customer support. In France, where we have more clients, but hopefully we'll catch up soon in Germany, we are even doing 24/7 support because we have the volumes that enable us to do that. And so we keep on improving on customer support. On the features and on the offering side, we started very much as a everyday business account, so IBANs, transfers, cards, and so on. And now we've added some other services around that. So invoicing, so you can issue invoices on Qonto. Bookkeeping and accounting is also a key pillar. All the topics around expense and spend management that are very important for larger teams. Because at Qonto we target all the SMEs, let's say from 1 to a couple hundred employees, so that's a pretty wide spectrum. And so we're adding new services and new bricks, let's say, depending on the feedback and the requests we have from our clients. So we're really scaling with them and making sure we keep the product as useful as possible to them. Today we're very happy to have reached a super high NPS of 75, Net Promoter Score, and so across all the markets, by the way. And the reasons for that is really to go very deeply into the needs of those SMEs in each market, going to the local specificities, accounting integrations, like data integrations in Germany, for instance, and so on, and everything that really can save them a lot of time and energy.
Yeah, let's make this a little more concrete. Can we talk about who exactly your customers are? I mean, you started out as a startup and you wanted to solve the problems that you had as a startup, but I think not many of your customers are actually startups. I mean, there are a lot of small and middle enterprises. What kind of companies are they exactly? Can you give a few examples maybe?
Yeah, well, we have indeed, 350,000 clients, so lots of, small businesses. Some are a bit famous, let's say, because they are startups and, they've raised money and whatever, so they've been in the press. But most of our clients are just, average, if I may say, small businesses. Can be, freelancers like, architects or lawyers or, Uber drivers, or just small businesses in the transportation industry, travel industry, some design studios, and indeed some startups. So it's pretty wide, and I think anyone, any small business wants to have a great service, fair pricing, great customer support. So it's not only fintech, or it's not only startup, but of course we're also overrepresented, let's say, in these ecosystems, just because we have a fully digital product, and these clients or these populations are maybe a bit more sensitive to having fully online solutions. But out of the 350,000 clients, about 100,000 of them were incorporating or have incorporated with us. So we're also very strong and very helpful for incorporating companies, so founders who just want to launch their business. They come to Qonto and they have everything they need to get started, and they can grow with us. So they start with the bank account or the account, and then they can do invoicing and connect their accounting and some other stuff as they grow. So it's also a very good way for them to scale with us.
Yeah. This is probably a good point to talk, a good time to talk about your acquisition of Penta. I mean, many of us in Germany know Penta, and they have similar offering. It's a similar thing, but it's not exactly the same as Qonto. So can you talk a little bit about what the differences are or were between Penta and Qonto and those two offerings, and how were they different, not how were they the same?
Yeah, well, indeed. So Penta and Qonto were, let's say, pretty much cousins, if I may say. So very similar in the type of offering and targets in business where we're targeting. What I can share is that the 50,000 clients that were using Penta and that are progressively migrating to Qonto. We've already had thousands of them migrating, and what they really enjoy with Qonto is, just to give you some examples, are some new features that Penta was not offering around expense management, spend management, so what I just described for larger teams. Second example would be around SWIFT transfers, or international transfers, and instant CPAT transfers that were not, for instance, that were not available on Penta at the time. Also, the way we're organized and we've set up our deposits securitization system, so the way the deposits are secured is very diversified. So in the context of the SVB situation and what happened in the last couple of months, this is also something that they enjoy, and we're not charging anything for deposits, whereas this is what was happening prior on the Penta side. So quite a few things that are definitely very appreciated by these clients, and overall we're still in the middle, if I may say, of this transition. But so far, most Penta clients that are migrating to Qonto are being very positively surprised, if I may say, by what they get on the other side.
Talking about that transition, I mean, there have been a few complaints by customers, for example, that this transition isn't the smoothest for them or isn't as smooth as they hoped. And you talked earlier about having pain points. One of the biggest pain points what keeps SMEs with a certain bank is that they have their IBAN number with the same bank and they don't have to change it. That's why they keep with one bank. But now with that acquisition, the Penta customers have to get a new IBAN number, which basically means they can look, I mean, that's basically like switching the bank to Qonto. It's like a whole merger. Aren't you losing some customers because they might look at alternatives simultaneously? I mean, if they have to change their IBAN anyways, they might as well look who's a better option or who's a better business bank at the moment that we could go to.
Well, yes and no. To be very transparent, moving to a new IBAN, a new card, there are some other aspects, but these are the most important ones, is of course a bit annoying for clients. And we know that we've done that exactly the same move with about 50,000 French clients 4 years ago when we got our license and moved from our partner to our own license, a bit similar to when N26 got their own license. They moved from a Solaris IBAN to an N26 IBAN, so it's very similar.
I don't think that's similar because those were private people and they maybe had to like change one or two subscriptions that they have with their IBAN, but a company works very differently. I mean, a company has a lot more incoming and outgoing finances, so you have to change the IBAN at so many more points. So I don't think that is comparable, to be honest.
Well, my point is that it's exactly the same topic of changing IBAN and card. Whether you're a B2C or B2B, we might debate, but the point is it's exactly technically the same aspect. You migrate from one provider to another one. I think the key point that I wanted to make is also that here we've taken all these clients by the hand and actually optimized that whole migration. So we've, just to give you a very concrete example, they have a checklist of the things they would need to check and forward us, like the SDD mandates and all that. It's like the card payments that they've been doing, checking where their card is in whatever Uber, Amazon, whatever subscription they have that are using their card numbers. And of course also because we know exactly where they come from and where they're going to, we have we've smoothened as much as possible the process, and actually the latest verbatims and comments we have are that people are overall very surprised by how smooth the process is. So we've smoothened it as much as possible, and it's pretty smooth. And also in parallel to that, let's say, technical help, we've done a couple of months of free product and free service so that they don't have to pay double, and all these things that are also helping very much for the for a smooth transition.
Point taken. How many customers did Penta have? How many are you trying to migrate right now in total?
50,000.
50,000. And how many are you hoping to keep throughout this transition? I mean, you're probably calculating with a small number of customers that you're losing, which is only natural, but how much would that be?
We're really hoping to get all of them. I think my point is there's natural churn whatever you do, independently from the transition, but I think most of the others should transition to Qonto. As you were actually saying in your question earlier, the offerings are similar. I think, if I may say, because also Qonto has some larger means, a much larger tech team and so on. We've been also to build even more features and offers. So I think there are lots of reasons to actually love Qonto even more than those Penta clients were loving Penta. So I think if they were happy with Penta, they should be even happier with Qonto after that transition that we're making as smooth as possible for them.
We now talked about that transition that you do externally with your customers, but buying a company like Penta, you also have to do a huge merger within a company, or you have to integrate a culture, and you have to integrate products, and you have to integrate teams to one another, also from Paris and Berlin. How's that going right now? How are you approaching this?
Well, pretty well. I think just to give you the big picture, I mean, we were already active in 4 markets. We already had a Berlin team, a Berlin office, and a German team. So it's not like we discovered Germany was this deal and acquisition. We're definitely going much faster, and we have a much larger team now in Germany. We have more than 160 people now in Germany, but we already, we've been active in the German market with a German product, German IBAN, and so on for 4 or 5 years now. And we have 5 big offices, one also in Paris, you mentioned, in Milan and Barcelona, and in Belgrade on top of the Berlin one. So we're really, we're truly a European company now. Out of the team of more than 1,000 people, more than half is based outside of France, and more than half also is non-French. So we're, our ambition has always been to be a European, champion, if I may say, and of course this Penta, acquisition and integration is a great milestone for us to, help be that European champion.
Yeah, I think in the description of this talk that we had, we wrote that Qonto for us is right now the only and the first European fintech that has managed to really be on top of its own segment with the acquisition of Penta mostly, but you're now undisputedly on the top of business banking in Europe. What I'm interested in is going from that position, how do you look at the current funding climate, and how do you look at the current climate? I mean, that doesn't only affect you and your company and how it works, but it also affects all of your customers who are small and medium enterprises. How does that affect Qonto?
Maybe two very quick answers. On the Qonto side, we're very fortunate to have raised that very significant Series D about 15-16 months ago. We raised about 500 million euro. And so we have a very good, visibility, and we'll be breaking even before we need to raise any additional funding. So we're pretty safe, in a pretty good spot, if I may say. And then when it comes to our clients, I'm actually pretty positively surprised, let's say, that so far so good across our different markets. I mean, we don't see any big impact yet, if I may say, or I hope we won't see it, but of any recession or big crisis. When we look at company creation, there are still a lot of companies being created in Europe. When we look at company liquidations or bankruptcies, the rates are relatively stable. When we look at spend, whether by card or overall activity and cash flows and cash positions, We don't see any alarming, trends, and we're lucky because we have all this kind of, real-time data.
Yeah.
But again, so far so good. But of course, it can go quite fast. So if in 3 or 6 months the economic situation is much worse, of course that will impact our clients and that will impact us as well. But so far, I would say that so good.
Well, I think that's a good phrase to end this on a positive note. So far, so good. Let's knock on wood. Thank you for being here today, Alex.
Thanks, you, Don.